Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoax Hoganson. Three avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? The Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Miami Marlins. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins play host to the Miami Marlins, taking 2 of 3. And, folks, that is the second series victory for your Minnesota Twins in a row. They're currently sitting third in the AL. The White Sox are hot. We'll talk about that. The Guardians
Central.
are hot.
The third in the AL Central, David.
Oh, what
not
did I
the
say?
whole of the AL. That would be misleading.
Potato, Dan. The AL is terrible. That's all we really know, Dan.
It's not, though. The Yankees and the Rays are very good. It's the other two divisions and the rest of the 3 teams in the East that aren't very good.
Well, okay, Dan, it's hard to keep it all straight who's good and who's bad. You never know here. But I do want to say thank you to Hoax for filling in for me last episode. It was a very busy weekend for me with Mother's Day, and I had some church obligations I needed to take care of. So thank you for Hoax filling in. But also, I appreciated all the compliments and kind words about game.
It was really
night,
nice
Dan.
to you. Really nice to you. I kept waiting for like the other shoe to drop, I guess, proverbially. Yeah. But he just had nothing but good things to say. He complimented your game teaching, your food, your friendship, your good looks. Like, I think it was all on display for Hoax in that episode.
It was fun. We really did have a very wonderful night. And I just had to keep reiterating to him, like, I would never do this. To people just showing up at my house, I wouldn't say, do you want to play this 3-hour game? Like, that is not something that I would ever do. People need to know what they're getting into. But both he and his wife were super gracious and super just in it. Like, I really appreciated just the vigor with which they approached a task that I don't think they were super interested in doing, which was great.
It's like going to a baseball game with like a buddy who's not into baseball, but they'll still go with you and they ask questions and they're engaged. Yeah. That's way more fun, right? It's fantastic. So, well, hey, we have a good series to talk about here. Like you said, the Twins take 2 of 3 from the Miami Marlins, a team that we only see at Target Field once every couple of years now. I think the last time they were here, I bet Luis Arraez was maybe not. I don't remember how long Luis Arraez was with the Miami Marlins in that Pablo Lopez trade. No, well, that's how the Twins way. You trade a guy and you trade him again a couple hours later. But I guess with that, we should just go ahead and get into the recap here.
Series recap.
So game 1 was funny because I was watching, would it have been the Wolves that night or the Wild? I can't remember, but I was following.
Wolves for sure.
Okay, so it was the Wolves that night, and I was kind of checking on the Twins game occasionally, and then all of a sudden it's over, and it's 3-0. And as the more I investigate, like the better it gets here, except for one thing. So it was Bark at the Park night. I'm a dog owner, but going to a baseball game with a dog sounds like the least enjoyable experience. Like, you're not a dog person, so maybe I shouldn't. You don't have much to add to that.
Almost
conversation.
None. No, you're right. I would agree with you though. I would never want to take a dog to the ballpark. No question. Yeah.
Just sounds awful. It's just one more like person. Like it's like with my children. Like I can't keep them on a leash. First of all, like technically, like the dog at least could be kept on a leash.
Depending on your parenting style, Dan. I've seen a child or two on leashes before, Dan.
Well, I just think of all the scraps on the floor that you'd be preventing your dog from going after, and like. This just sounds like a nightmare, but people do it. But then some people just bring their dogs everywhere with them. David, do you know these people?
I've met a few. Yes.
All right, we should move on. Anyway,
yes.
Bottom of the first here, the Twins nearly score. This is not as exciting as it might seem. So Larnach strikes out, but on a wild pitch, which is one of my favorite plays, makes it all the way to second on the throw to first. Bell hammers a ball to left center, but the Marlins center fielder Jacob Marcy tracks it down. But here's the thing. With Bailey Ober on the mound throwing the way that he was, it didn't matter. Now, maybe I'm naive. Did you know the definition of a Maddox before this?
Had to look it up.
Okay, but everything that I read about this was like, oh yeah. I mean, I grew up in the era of Maddox. Like, I guess I thought that I knew these things. So a Maddox is a complete game shutout with fewer than 100 pitches. And maybe we don't know this as Twins fans because it doesn't happen very often for Twins pitchers, right? The last one was Irvin Santana, not even the Santana I would have picked, in 2017. And a nod to Theodore Tollefson of MLB.com for a lot of these stats here. So this was Ober's first career complete game shutout, but I remember his last complete game in 2024 against the A's, which also was 89 pitches, but that one he gave up a couple runs. And I don't even think that Rocco Baldelli could have screwed this one up, right? With only 89 pitches, like, he's not pulling him, I wouldn't think, right?
I don't know, man. Third time through the order, he might have gotten that Rocco twitch, that he's like, oh, I got to make a call.
Well, in the bottom of the fifth, the Twins got their runs. The first is on a double steal-ish by Larnach. It's one of those trickery double steals, which I think you're going to talk about later. Buxton scores. It was actually his first career steal of home base, which was a little bit surprising to me. It wasn't it last year he stole third for the first time in his career?
Yeah.
So the guy's finally getting around the bases here. Larnach played it perfectly. He went halfway, then back to... Anyway, it was a lovely play. But then the funny thing was at the next pitch, Jeffers hammered a home run anyway. So it was 3-0 at that point. And then just a couple other notes on Ober. He threw 64 strikes, just 2 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. He dropped his ERA from 4.19 to 3.46. And Greg Maddux, by the way, had 13 Madduxes in his career, which, man, that's an impressive stat to have 13 of those.
Well, and okay, you mentioned this, but the idea that like everybody just had that in the vocabulary, that like Maddux was in the back of their mind, no chance. One guy said it on Twitter, and it was probably a thing. I'm not saying that one guy just made it up this time around, but I am saying that, like, I don't know how many people that was common knowledge on, but then everybody had to act, because, Dan, you'd hate to be seen as somebody who doesn't know ball, and so that's like,
no way.
It's a fear we all live in here, is being accused of not knowing ball, and so everybody's like, oh yeah, Maddux, yeah, certainly, yeah.
Well, not knowing ball, there's game 2. So the Marlins win this 9-5. We think we're going to talk about Simeon Woods Richardson more later. You would think this would be the final death knell for his role as a starter here. He's tagged for 8 runs, 6 of them earned, 7 hits, 4 walks in just 3+ innings. He gets into the 4th but can't get out of it. His ERA is at 7.71. And this is too bad because Byron Buxton hit a couple of home runs in this game, including a leadoff home run. It's not really nearly enough, though. The Twins had their chances. They go 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. And the Marlins, as it so often does, comes down to this. They go 4 for 11. There was a first-inning error by Keyshaw that was really it was a 6th grade level error, I think.
Yes.
And that would even be an insult to the 6th graders that I just watched play baseball today. But that allowed a couple more. Just the ball goes right under his glove. So it maybe should have been at least an out. But that 4-0 lead early really holds up nicely for the Marlins, who never trailed. They get 4 runs off of him, as I said, in the top of the 4th without Echeverria recording an out. So it's 8-2 at that point. Adams, Topa, Garcia handled the rest. They allow just 1 more run, so I guess there's that. And Cody Clemens has a couple hits, including his 4th home run of the season. But otherwise, not much more to say about that one, David.
No, the only thing about the Buxton home runs that I wanted to point out is watch the location of the ball when he hits these home runs, because they're like polar opposite. Like one is like high and outside and he just whacks that one deep, and then the other one's low and inside. Like neither of these pitches were like belt high middle fastballs that Buxton got a hold of. It was like each place was on the outskirts of the zone and maybe even a touch out of the zone, and he still gets that ball out. How strong do you have to be, Dan, to be able to hit a ball that far when the pitches are not pitches that are meant to be hit for home runs?
To me, it's as much about strength, though, as it is about just like being in the zone and just seeing pitches well, right? Like he can just get the bat on them no matter where they are. Because each of those home runs, it looked like he knew what was being thrown. He was ready for it.
Yes.
Or he's just reacting incredibly well. But either way, he's, again, prime of his career right now, which we have more to say about him a little bit later. Then we get to game 3. Twins do win this 9-1. But early on, it felt like a game that could have gone a different direction if the Twins wasted some opportunities, which they wasted in one at the bottom of the first. They load the bases with nobody out, but then 3 straight strikeouts. I do have to say, Chris Atterbury on the radio call at this point. So I was driving from my office to my parents' house, and so I'm listening on the radio at this point, and Atterbury is
I don't. He's sort of like you, Dan. I think where like his frustration level, like to a normal person, doesn't sound frustrated. But if you get to know the person a little bit, you can tell when they're angry or upset. Like listening to Atterbury as often as I do, that might be the most upset I've ever heard him. Like they do nothing. Like he said, "do nothing" like 4 times in the course of a minute and a half.
Please attempt to be a gentleman.
This season is clearly grating on Chris Atterbury, who has been in, this role. He was the apprentice to this job for like 20 years, right? I mean, he's the radio guy in the studio when everybody else is out. It's like Aowen, who's stuck in Edoras when all of the riders of Rohan are going on, and finally Aowen gets into a battle, and then no Nazgul shows up. Where she appears on the fields of the Pelennor, and then there's nobody to fight. I think that's Chris Atterbury right now.
Are like onions.
Brilliant, Dan. Always with the great comparisons and analogies. We always appreciate it.
But luckily for him, the bottom of the second happens, and the Twins, it's like a refresh. It's like a redo, like a do-over with your children, right? It's fantastic. So the Twins load the bases again with no outs, but this time they cash in with two-run doubles by Martin and then Bell, then an RBI ground out by Caratini, which is at least he knocked in a run. And so it's 5-0 at that point. You know it's good when in the bottom of the third, James Outmake, a.k.a. James Outman, singles in a run for the first time in this season, brings in a run, makes it 6-0. And then this guy named Zebby Matthews, which we talked about Zebby a week or 2 ago. Did we not, David? I'm going to let you tell people what we talked about because it was me who talked about it.
Okay, so we were talking about where is Zebby Matthews was really the question. And then we'd looked at his numbers at AAA, and he just didn't look good. Like, he didn't look like he really garnered a call-up with the stats he was putting forth. So it was a little surprising, Dan, to see him come up and throw this well. But you do wonder if the adrenaline's pumping, and he's thinking, this is my shot. I can't lose my shot. I know that this is a great opportunity for me because they're looking for rotation help.
I am not throwing away my shot.
I love that you hang on to these sounders that I think we're never going to use.
You retire them.
Jose Miranda is in some system somewhere on the West Coast, I think. But no, I love that you
I want to build championship culture.
I got more, David. I got more of the oldies here.
Okay, but so Zebby Matthews, then he comes up, and I think what was interesting is Declan Goff made this point, I think, on their show, that he said that his velocity on all of his pitches was down a couple of miles an hour. Which you would think a guy coming up, and again, like I was saying, that adrenaline pumping, you're expecting those pitches to actually increase in velocity, or velo, as you so lovingly call it, Dan.
But this is why. It's because he just watched Bailey Ober, and you're like a seasoned parent.
Where did all these unsupervised children come from?
Bailey has learned that sometimes it's better to just slow down amidst the chaos, right? And maybe he has taught Zebby, it's not all about speed and putting out every fire. Just go out there and be savvier.
Okay, I'm just wondering, Dan, when does your and Bailey Ober's book on parenting come out? Because it's amazing. It's amazing the amount of wisdom that our listeners have gained from listening to you and Bailey Ober and your parenting advice.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
David, someday you'll appreciate all of these things. You'll learn all of these things like Bailey and I.
As I'm struggling with my children and discipline, I'm going to listen back to these episodes and think, what would Bailey and Dan do?
That's perfect. It's perfect. So anyway, Zebby asked that question. 7 shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Like we said in his first start this season with the Twins, the Marlins do get a run off of Kendry Rojas in the top of the 8th. But then the bottom of the 8th, the Twins slammed that door. They had 3 more runs, including 2 on a 2-run double by James Outman, James Outmake, and then a single by Austin Martin. The Twins finished 6 for 12 with runners in scoring position. This is what happens when teams do that. And Byron Buxton was actually a late scratch here because of a sore hip flexor. It sounds like he's feeling better already, but hopefully he's back again for this Brewers series coming up.
Well, Dan, if you have a sore hip flexor, I don't know what part of the body that is. I know it's in the hip area, but what the flexor part is, I don't know. But if you need quick relief, Dan, you can turn to CBD, which is in fact a miracle drug. And let me tell you, the list of benefits using CBD is long. You can use it to knock out pain, reduce inflammation, to sleep better. And when you choose Cascade CBX Sport, you get these benefits, plus the peace of mind that their products are NSF certified for sport. CBD can help everyone from your aging grandmother managing her arthritis to a weekend warrior easing aches and pains, all the way to a college or pro athlete who doesn't want to risk their sponsorship or scholarship and needs sports CBD products free of over 300 banned substances. Visit CascadeCBXSport.com and trust the Shield to stay on the field.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
The listeners, Dan, do we even keep this segment? I'm starting to think we should just delete it. So they took Buxton. He gets the victory with 12. You tried your best, Dan. Jeffers coming off the board. He had 8. I took Lee, who had 2. Hogs took Keishall, who had -1. He's struggling a little bit. It does seem like he's turned a corner with his bat a little bit. But, Dan, why don't you go ahead and run us through the season standings, which this is turning into a rout, Dan.
I know. So the listeners have picked Buxton the last 5 series. They've won 4 of them and gotten the bonus 3 times. So they have stormed ahead of me here. 7 points for them with 93 in the points, too. So they're dominating this. I'm second with 4.5 and 51. David, you're third with 4 points and 46 season points scored. And then Hogs at 2.5 with 47. This is setting up to be one of those. We had Royce Lewis had a streak like this a couple of years ago, back when he was effective, where the listeners just picked him the whole time. And so we'll see. I mean, Buxton, we don't want him to snap out of it, but maybe share the wealth a little bit. Let somebody else pick up the slack here. Well, shall we? Let's go on here to Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Losing fun? Is losing fun.
Well, if we're going chronologically, I got to give it to Bailey Ober for his gem. We've already praised him enough, but the turnaround in his game over the last 4 or 5 starts has really been remarkable after a not great start. So important for this team, and I love that he's showing that you don't have to throw hard to get guys out. He's not throwing over 90, and he's still doing this.
Can he keep it up? Is this sustainable is really the question, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's savvy enough now to be, a veteran who's able to do these things.
Clever girl.
I think. Until he proves otherwise, yeah, I think so.
Well, I guess because when you think about when you think about the crafty veteran and the reliever coming in, the guy who's going to come in to get just a couple of outs or finish an inning, but he throws really slow, but he's got a slider that's got more movement than any other guy who's throwing a slider. You just don't see that with starters that often. You need to have a fastball that you can locate well, and he does have a fastball and he can locate it well. But it's not really a fastball, is it, Dan?
Yeah, I guess he's just tricking guys. It's working. It's working so far. Let him keep doing it.
I guess. So I got to give Zebby a shout-out for sure, and he likely deserves a beast moniker as well. But I got to go Austin Martin, Dan. That man, he goes 4 for 13 with a stolen base, solid defense, and I think it was Dan Hayes over at The Athletic was writing about how Derek Shelton was talking about how he just has to keep playing Austin Martin because he keeps playing so well. And you can't sit a guy, regardless of who's on the mound, when he's playing as well as Austin Martin is. And the upgrade he is, Dan, in right field over Matt Wallner. Matt Wallner was dead last as far as fielding defense is concerned, where Austin Martin is +4 defensive runs. So it was an easy change to make, I think, as far as playing time was concerned.
Yeah, that's a moose.
Easy transition into my bench then. It's Wallner. He played 1 game of this series. He went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. They sent him down here on Thursday. We'll see. We obviously want him to be better, but he deserved that. We will talk more about Matt Wallner a little bit later here, but he's an obvious bench pick. What about you?
I'm going to take the other obvious pick here. I got to take SWR. And Dan, I just want to clarify. So you said Nell. I'm not an English teacher. Can you explain? I always think nail in the coffin. Is that what a knell is?
No, knell. It's like a bell, like a ringing bell.
Okay.
That's the sound it makes.
So it's the final bell, you could say, for SWR.
Yeah, the death knell, the final bell. Kind of rhymes pretty well.
Well, anyway, okay, so I'm curious what happens with him. I don't know that they're just going to try and move him to the bullpen because I don't know that he has that sort of one more step up to get to that bullpen level. I mean, to pitch out of the Twins bullpen, though, it doesn't take much.
A heartbeat and an arm. Left or right won't matter.
There's no way that he makes another start for this team unless he either goes down to AAA and figures it out, and they're okay, oh my goodness, he figured it out, he unlocked whatever his problems were, let's get him back up and try him at the majors again. Or he goes down to AAA and he says, you know what, yeah, let me try out of the bullpen and see what I can do. But it just seems I know that he's young, but at the same time, Dan, this is too many starts in a row where it became comical that it's okay, were we ever going to try and win this baseball game?
But the issue is who else is going to start? I mean, we got Ryan, Ober, Prelip, Zebby, and then I have a pinky still, and I don't have a pitcher for that. So I think it's got to be SWR.
This little pitcher starts Monday. This little piggy.
Like, I don't know who's going to start. What, Friday at this or Thursday at this point, or whatever day it would be. I think they might need to give him one more because they don't have another choice. Can we call it a bullpen game at that point? Like, bring
Apparently
him out.
we're great at those, Dan. Like, Hogs had a great line last episode where he said a bullpen game without a bullpen. Let's just try that again. Why not, Dan?
What if you put in one of those non-traditional openers and then you bring SWR in and you see if that strategy works? Like, I think you got to do something different.
Yeah, very well, Dan. So let's go ahead and push here Derek's debrief.
You ever seen Buck with his pants down? No.
Derek's debrief.
Well, so this no bullpen plan has worked really well. I think when you get starts from Zebby and Ober, it has me dreaming of a turn in the rotation with Pablo and Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober and Taj Bradley and Mick Abel doing the things that pitchers did in the 80s. Right, where they would go 7 innings, almost like that would work, right? Like, I think that could work, and maybe you can, if you only need 2 innings from your bullpen, this can work, right?
Oh, no question. I mean, the thing is, what's funny about that is even if you only need 2 innings from your bullpen, could you tell me, Dan, which 2 guys you have
I don't know.
for those 2 innings?
Yeah, that's the well, I can't take Cody Funderburk anymore, so apparently for another 10 days or so when they bring him back up. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we're seeing some slightly better things out of this bullpen, but nothing that I trust. Nothing in a high leverage situation right now.
No question. I just think that the length of the starter was fascinating at the beginning of the season because it seemed like Shelton was just sort of leaving him out there, even if they were only doing okay, right? Even if they weren't doing phenomenally. And you do wonder, if guys are going on the mound with that mentality, does it help him a little bit to be thinking that, hey, he's not going to pull me if I give up a couple runs. Like, he's going to pull me if I give up as many runs as SWR does. But if I only give up a couple of runs, he's going to let this run its course because he's got no other options. You do start to wonder if that gives the guys a little bit of confidence, knowing that, hey, if I made one mistake, that's okay. I'm going to be able to finish out this game for as long as I can prove to be effective.
Yeah, and it's probably good for these young guys like Connor Prelip to just have that leash and just to say, hey, you're going to work out to some jams. I think also because the expectations are not on this team that is only, a game and a half out of first place right now, or 2.5 games. So this is good. It is good for their long-term development, I suppose. It would just be nice. It is 3.5 games, by the way, behind the Guardians. It would be nice if there was the semblance of a bullpen to hold on to this team's leads a little bit.
Maybe like a guy like Louis Varland. I think he's doing pretty well, Dan. Just winning awards left and right here in Canada.
Oh, that sure would be nice. What do you got?
So I just love the aggressiveness on the base paths here. Like, so game 1, bottom 5, that double steal with Larnach and Buxton was great. And then game 2, bottom 1, to do it again here with Josh Bell, who ends up with a stolen base, who definitely doesn't deserve it. Like, the only reason the catcher hung on the ball was to prevent what happened in game 1, obviously, to prevent the run from scoring. But I do appreciate, like, even on Buxton's, it was Buxton first to third. He almost made it home because it was a hit and run with Larnach is what happened. And Buxton was cruising. I do wonder. I kind of wanted to see him run home just to see how close that play would have been. And then I was nervous. I think that's where he sort of messed up his hip a little bit. If you saw when he made it back to third base, he sort of just twinged a little bit, Dan. I
don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
I love your observations there. That was, it's possible. It certainly is possible. Hope he's okay.
I put money on it, Dan. Are you kidding me? I took a lot of pre-med classes. I think I took a biology class. Does that count?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what is your thing for Derek here? Oh, you talked about that. You talked about that with the stolen bases.
Dan, sometimes it's like you don't even listen to me when I'm talking over here.
All right, let's move on to the Minnesota moment. Here we go.
Minnesota moment.
Accusing me of not listening. I tell you, I'm just caught up in your story.
Yes. Well, let me tell you another one, Dan. Okay, so
great.
It's Wednesday night. The Wild are playing the Avs. The Twins are playing the Marlins. I got church stuff going on. Okay, so I have both games on delay. So I refuse to look at my phone because I assume there's going to be spoilers from either my brother watching the Twins or from you guys watching the Wild. And so I'm not looking at my phone at all. I get home from the church stuff, we get the kids to bed, and I get both games up on the screen. And I'm watching I'm watching the Wild, and I'm watching the Twins. And as I'm watching the Wild, it just doesn't feel like they're going to win. Right? Like that second period watching the Wild game was absolute torture. Like you would have thought the Avs were somehow granted a 1-period power play where they just got to have extra people on the ice at all times in the second period. And you're just looking at that and you're thinking, how on earth are the Wild going to hold on and win this game? And then they didn't. And then they lost it in spectacular fashion.
It was a terrible
The most Minnesota fashion you could think of. Very Vikings-esque, certainly. But, Dan, as I'm watching this, I got the Twins on the small TV, I got the Wild on the big TV, and every time Matt Wallner comes up to the plate, I just assume he's going to strike out. And when you see it happen, and you start to, like, think, maybe I have some ability here to tell the future. Because it's like, I just knew what was going to happen. And so I just thought that evening of watching the epic Wild collapse and then watching our homegrown Minnesota kids strike out 4 times it was a very Minnesota moment for me personally. And then the other thing I need to say about this, Dan, everybody's acting like this is some phenomenally like surprising breaking news that Matt Wallner got sent down to AAA. It's like the guy was batting 140 and he can't play an adequate right field defense. What, you were just thinking they were just going to roll with it forever? I just don't understand the surprise here that Matt Wallner got sent down.
No, he needed to be sent down. I know we hope it's the reset. He's probably going to go down and hit 15 home runs for the Saints and lead them for the season. He hasn't been able to sustain it early in seasons in Minnesota or up over in Minneapolis, which is weird. Hopefully this one does it. But so I'm going to go with actually the guy who replaced him, and it's Game 3, bottom 2. It's the 2-run double by Martin that started the scoring that got them rolling in a game that they needed to win, obviously, to win the series. And he's just playing so well right now. I did feel pretty good then at that point when they go up 5-0 in that. I think with Zebby pitching the way that he was, this felt pretty good. So that was my moment as a kind of an uplifting moment here.
Oh, certainly, Dan. It was fun to watch that after the debacle that was Wednesday night's games here for Minnesota fans. All right, let's keep going here, Dan. Mauer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
Well, okay. This is related to Matt Wallner. So when Matt Wallner was sent down, everybody's favorite player, Mark Kreidler, was brought up in his place. And I was thinking, what? Why is that? Why can't they just do the bold thing and bring up Kaelen Culpepper? And I get that, Brooksley's playing well at short, but it's not like Royce is just knocking down doors of heaven over at third base, and it's not like Luke Keeschall knows how to play with a glove on his hand, right? Other than like a sliding glove, like he does that very well, right? Stealing second, I think he's got 10 stolen bases. Like, you can't tell me there aren't at-bats for Kaelen Culpepper, unless the only thing is you really want him to only play shortstop. But I don't think that that's the path forward here for a guy like... What would be so bad about bringing him up? He's hitting well. I think he's 850-something OPS with the Saints. Why not bring him up?
It's a good question. I don't fully understand the thinking in that you're bringing up a utility guy while sending down an outfielder, other than, again... You plug in Austin Martin for almost every game now. Like, he's going to be in the lineup every game without a problem. So then what do you actually need? I guess another utility guy. And if you do want to keep seeing Royce Lewis at third base, if you're unwilling to send Royce down, which I think that was the most surprising thing, if you're going to send Wallner down, what are you doing exactly? That's what I don't understand. You're trying the chosen one! You're trying to send a message a little bit that, like, hey, guys, you need to get better. You need to figure this out. I don't understand why Royce Lewis wasn't also a part of these transactions, just to like shake things up a little bit, because you can't keep carrying this dead weight on the roster, Dan.
For some reason, though, Royce doesn't feel like as dead of a weight as Matt Wallner. Like, his at-bats don't seem quite so predictable as Matt Wallner's were. It's been a little better. He's had a few more hits in the season. It just feels, am I just, Royce-colored glasses with this? But like, I don't know. Am I way off?
Royce-colored glasses is a great phrase, Dan. So he's currently batting 167 with a 569 OPS. That's not much better than Matt Wallner,
well, no,
for sure.
That's probably true. I don't know. There's something about his play that hasn't been as deliriously bad. He's maybe playing a slightly better third base than Matt Wallner's playing at right field, but
that's reasonable.
I probably just have to admit that I have more hope for Royce right now than I do for Matt Wallner. And I don't
see,
know
but
that
I think
your
comment about Royce-colored glasses, I think, is very fair in that, Dan, after the 23 season, Royce Lewis made every list for dark horse MVP candidates for 2024.
Right. Yeah.
So the problem is that we're still thinking back on Royce in 2023. And I remember, to quote a wise man from a few episodes ago, I was told, Dan, that he was done with Royce Lewis, that he was writing him off. He was no longer. Yeah. Oh, was that you, Dan?
You underestimate my power.
So I just think, Dan, that I do think you're looking at Royce through the lens of what we've seen that he can be, but it has been so long since he's been that guy. I think he's lacking confidence. The quotes to the media don't help his case at all.
No, they don't.
Hit some home runs. Get yourself back in shape here. Yeah, you can play an adequate third base, but there's a lot of guys who can play an adequate third base, and I don't know.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
I don't know that if you gave me the choice between a Royce Lewis at bat and this guy taking an at bat,
there's no way they're going to have Kreidler up there doing anything.
I don't know that you can tell me that you have more faith that Royce Lewis is going to have a better productive at bat than Kreidler.
Well, Kreidler is batting .294 now with a 1.161 OPS after going
small sample size, but yes,
3 times against the Marlins. I was going to say Kreidler he's played in 6 games with 17 at bats right now, but he's got 5 hits and Royce only has 15. So I mean, that's not that far behind. I think at that sample size. So anyway, what did you want to talk about here?
So we have to start talking about this now. I know you don't want to, but I was thinking about this in the car today, and I was, I often go through the lineup in my head, and I think about what does this look like in 2027? What does it look like in 2028? And you have to start wondering, Dan, the guys who are performing are the guys who are going to be potential trade talks this season anyway. So I guess in one way, outside of the Pablo injury, the guys who you're looking to trade potentially, Buxton, obviously, who would have to waive his no trade, Ryan, and now, Dan, Jeffers is likely going to be a hot trade commodity. He's going to be talked about on the market because this is his walk year where Ryan and Buxton have additional time. But then Ober also, Dan, if he continues to pitch like this, these are all names that I think you either have to decide all of them go or none of them go, because why would you keep any of them if you're not planning to compete next season? I just don't, this is where ownership struggled so much last season at the trade deadline because who they hung on to and who they let go didn't seem to match up with what they were thinking for 2026, and we can't be in that position again. So either at the deadline, you stand pat and you think, you know what, we're actually going to invest in this team in the offseason. We're going to come back in 27. We're going to put pieces around these guys who we know are effective to put our team on the map to make them true contenders. Or you think, nope, it's time to fully reset. We're going to keep the young guys, but the guys who have a year or two left on their contract, they're up for grabs. Let's see what we can get for them. And I'm just worried, Dan, what's your thinking right now? What do you want them to do at the trade deadline? And if the trade deadline was today and the Twins are 3.5 back in the Central?
Oof. Well, of those 4 guys, these are the guys that I am okay with them trading in this order. I'm okay with Joe Ryan. I'm okay with Ryan Jeffers. Bailey Ober, I think, is an okay value still. I don't think you trade Buxton because he's still under contract for a little while, and I think you can get through this. I think they could survive next year without Joe Ryan, the way that the starting pitching has gone, and because I think he would fetch a lot on a trade deadline deal. Other people can correct me on that. I think and I don't want to see these trades, but I think these are the trades that I would see. I think Ryan Jeffers, because they've got some catching prospects from the guys that they got last year in the deals, so I think they could see trading Jeffers and getting a haul for a catcher who might be one of the best catchers in baseball right now. So I think those 2 guys, I got to give Hogs credit for that. I can't just keep walking because he texted that.
That's what he wanted to talk about.
That's what. So we're talking about it. So I think they would trade Ryan and Jeffers before the other 2. I don't know. I think probably more likely to trade them than not trade them, unless they're within a couple games at the deadline of a playoff spot, and then maybe you keep them and you go for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way they're going to be buyers. I think even if they're 3 games up in the Central through some where all the other teams died somehow, and the Twins were the only ones playing baseball, but there's no way that that's going to happen. I'm having a lot of trouble, Dan. If I was Twins ownership right now, I don't really know what I would do. That's not true even a little bit. I know exactly what I would do. Okay, I would get on the phone with Scott Boras or whoever the agents are, and I would sign contracts for Joe Ryan and for Ryan Jeffers and for Bailey Ober. And I would lock them up for 5 years. And I would say, these guys are going to be cornerstones of our team. We have young talent to surround them with. They're going to be effective in this league. And that's what I would do. And then, Dan, the fan base, can you imagine?
Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine if that was the headline in the Star Trib was Twins owners give giant contracts to these players? The fan base would come back so quickly. And all of those guys, not until they sell the team, they would be like, what? They'd have to take notice, Dan. You couldn't leave that alone. And so I just wonder, if I'm ownership, that's what I'm thinking. If you're so concerned about the fan base, and yeah, $2 beers are great, Dan. And yeah, you can be pretty tipsy by the time you get to your seat on Friday evenings. I'll give you that for sure. However, signing guys who you know could be valuable, contributors to this team long term is the best medicine, Dan, to this problem and there's illness here that the owners have given the fan base.
Well, let's hope they do that. I have a little less optimism. Well, you're not even being optimistic about it necessarily.
No.
You're saying that's what you would do. I think that would be a wise choice, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to trade a couple of those guys. Hopefully not Buxton. He's the face of the franchise right now. I don't think you do that.
I just don't know why you hang on to him, Dan. Other than, again, he's the face of the franchise. And again, I'm not saying you should get rid of him. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you sell those other guys, there's no reason to hang on to Buxton and let the guy go out there and try and compete for a ring somewhere else. Atlanta's playing great. If they'd take him, why wouldn't he want to go there?
All right, let's go ahead. Let's grade this Marlins series.
Series grades.
I'm going to give him an A- here, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that might seem a little high, but honestly, Game 2, you were unlikely to win anyway. And I know that there were some struggles with runners in scoring position, but truly, you took 2 out of 3 at home against a bad baseball team. You should take 2 out of 3 from them. And the 2 wins that you had were pretty dominant, Dan. Game 1, you would have preferred to see a little bit more offense, but I'm okay, Dan. I'm okay with 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, especially knowing that one game was pretty much a throwaway.
Yeah, so veterans I gave a 10 out of 10, especially because of Buxton and Jeffers' play. The mids I gave a 10 out of 10 as well. Trevor Larnach is playing pretty well here.
Mm-hmm.
We saw guys like, Austin Martin, I guess, is a young guy. James Outman, heck, he even had a good game. There were some guys. Cody Clemens stepped up, and so I appreciate that. I gave a 7 out of 10 to the youth because of the Keyshaw error. Brooks Lee wasn't a huge factor in this series. But the starters, 9 out of 10, because I had to account for SWR a little bit there. And then the bullpen, an 8 out of 10. That comes to 44 out of 50, which is a B+. I think that's a reasonable grade, David.
You're lower than me, which is not typically the case because I'm going by gut, and you got this whole fancy rubric, Dan.
I do. And I tell you, speaking of things that are lower, right? So your level of water in your body, crew, it's not good. You need to be able to be hydrated to get through your day well. And it can leave you. If you're dehydrated, you're irritable. It gives you brain fog. You're probably not a good parent, David, if you're dehydrated, I tell you. And you've got low energy, but we've discovered a new hydration hero, and its name is Drip Drop. Drip Drop was invented more than a decade ago during life-saving humanitarian aid missions across the globe. Dr. Dolan created it for fast hydration where IVs just weren't possible. Drip Drop is a next-level breakthrough in hydration. It's backed by 6 decades of science, designed for both speed and for taste. And you know what? It's a secret weapon. 90% of all professional sports teams across all the major sports use it, including the Vikings, the Wild, the Wolves, and the Twins. It's also even used by the U.S. military, the Army Rangers, and the Navy SEALs. And there's a reason that the best use it. It's a superior product. Simply put, Drip Drop works faster and tastes better. So head to Amazon or dripdrop.com and order some Drip Drop. Mix it with water and experience for yourself the fastest way to hydrate.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Well, David, we're going to go around the league here and look at some of the stars, right? So, first of all, Fernando Tatis still does not have a home run, which is remarkable. You'd think the guy's got to be pressing now. The Padres are still good, but this is a long time for a guy of his stature to not have a home run.
It does feel weird. Like, do you know what his OPS is? I wonder how well his
I think it's still pretty.
It's
okay. I think it's still around 700. Like, he's not having a great season, but it's not awful. But speaking of seasons, so Shohei Ohtani is slumping. David, have you heard about this? This is fascinating. So over the last couple of weeks, I'm just looking at his MLB profile here. He's only got, oh gosh, where is this here? I had these stats pulled up. It's not good, David. I mean, he's only got like one home run in the last week, which, you know, for this team is pretty dang low. But on the season, oh, there it is. He's only got 2 home runs in the last 15 games. His slugging percentage is .393. His average is .232. They actually gave him a couple of days out of the starting lineup here. Should we all be worried about Shohei?
I don't know that I'm the guy you're going to want to talk to about this, Dan. I do think that his pitching has been so good that, like, even if you just treat him as a pitcher and you take away his offense, he's still, you know, a phenomenal
but he's not just a
player.
pitcher. He's got his own rule, David. He's got his own rule.
Yes, still not as good as the Cody Clemens rule. But still, Dan, I do think that even, again, if you take away all of his offensive prowess, he's still valuable as a pitcher, and he's too good. He'll bounce back. I'm not really concerned about the long slump because he's had such sustainable success for so many seasons back to back to back. Well, Dan, the other guy you have here in the notes was last season just a blip, Dan Thompson.
I know. So Cal Raleigh, this was so funny to me, and people out here are so concerned about Cal Raleigh. So he broke an 0-for-38 slump after he showered with his uniform on, which is, I got to say, I mean, that's one of the more superstitious things.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
But then he went on the injured list with an oblique strain that apparently had been bothering him for a couple weeks. So I think that was probably the thing that was actually causing these problems here. First IL stint in his career. We obviously wish the big dumper well, but that is concerning for Mariners fans. And then the last note is just to mention that the White Sox are above 500 at 22-21. I believe it's been 4 years since they were above 500 this late in the season. Should we be worried about the Southsiders?
Probably, but I mean, I don't know how much we're worried about the Southsiders compared to anybody else, Dan. Like, it's not like we should really worry about them. We just need to win some baseball games here, Dan.
That's true. All right, well, let's look forward here to this rivalry here. Puckett's picks for the Brewers series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night. Puckett's picks.
Well, the listeners obviously are going to stick with Buxton, the hip flexor soreness they don't care about, because I'm sure Buxton got some Cascade CBX Sport, Dan. He just rubbed some of that on
He's
there.
Just fine.
He's good to go. Send him back out there, Coach. Then Hogs gets next here. He's going to take Jeffers. I mean, these are obviously going to be the first two off the board here. I'm going to switch it up. Lee just hasn't come through for me in the way that I wish that he would. So I'm going to go with the guy I've been praising all episode. I got to go with Austin Martin, Dan.
I know. I thought you might take him. He was definitely the guy that I was going to take if you didn't take him. You know what? I'm going to go with a dark horse, Trevor Larnach. Let's see Trevor Larnach come through here against the Brewer Crew. And a lefty. I'll take a lefty here this time.
I don't know that he's been picked all season, Dan.
I know. See, things needed to change.
Yeah, got to mix it up, Dan. Got to mix it up here. Well, Dan, this was quite an episode. So many things to talk about. I'm so glad to be back with you again. Thanks to Hogs for filling in last episode. But I think if you could send us out, that would be great.
Sounds good. Folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win and find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it on all those platforms, please. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you for listening, and as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hogs Hoganson. 3 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins!